No long intros. This is HeadCannon, yo. This video is about Skyler White, yo. And this is a follow-up to the video we did about Lori Grimes, in which we discovered that she does, in fact, suck.
You have been weighed, you have been measured, and you have been found wanting.
Now, whether Skyler sucks is a much more complicated, nuanced discussion. And if we want to get into that, we have to understand what her role is in the show and how Breaking Bad is set up. So the most contrived way I can think of for how to explain that is to talk about the Walking Dead story again. Because that is basically what Breaking Bad is pretending to be the first time you watch it. So the first scene of The Walking Dead sets up the whole premise of the show, and it's what it's all going to be about for the next 9 seasons. Rick is talking about how his bitch wife, and yes, I'm allowed to say that because we proved it was true, Lori said she doesn't know if Rick even cares about his family at all. Now we know by the end of the first episode, Rick obviously cares, and then the entire rest of the show is going to be about this. Can Rick Grimes protect his family, and what is he willing to do to keep them safe? The Walking Dead explores this over and over and over in different ways until Rick leaves the show. And the short answer to that premise is that he will do anything for them. He'll become a monster, he'll lose a hand, he'll kill his best friend, he'll rip out someone's throat, and ultimately he would die for them. Now at the start of Breaking Bad, the setup is almost identical to this. Walter gets cancer, he has no money to give his family for when he's dead. So the premise seems like it would be, can Walter White save enough money for his family before he dies, and what is he willing to do in order to make that happen? How far is he willing to go, right? So the setting is different, but the character seems like he'll have the same basic arc as Rick Grimes, essentially. But the setup is a complete lie. The entire show is about slowly revealing that Walter's pretending to be Rick Grimes. Rick is pushed to do bad things because he loves his family. Walter White is using his cancer and the fact his family needs money as an excuse for him to do these bad things. So the whole show really is about lying to the audience about the fact that Walter White is the bad guy and getting you to root for him for as long as they can. And watching the show for the second time around, it's actually pretty obvious from early on. There are tons of moments where there's real motivation show, like when Gretchen and Elliot offer to pay his treatment and he won't accept, or when the doctors tell him that his cancer is in remission and he throws a temper tantrum in the bathroom, or when he has a ton of chances to walk away with enough money and he doesn't. He really does all this because he wants to make up for his failed career, he wants to be respected for his achievements, and he wants to feel like he has the biggest dick in the world. Just like me. So you should like the video, comment, and subscribe to the channel.
Huel, you happy?
Reasonably.
What would make you unhappy?
This motherfucker not doing what he's told.
Well, there you have it.
But anyway, the show really wants to keep you from seeing this and have you on his side for as long as it can, and the way it does that is by putting him in these sympathetic situations and making everyone around him kind of suck. Because if you really think about it, Hank is just objectively the hero of the story. He is the good guy here. So to keep you on Walter's side, they make him a jerk. He talks down to Walter and demasculates him all the time and in front of his son. And he's generally just cocky, unpleasant, and arrogant. And then his wife is a shoplifter, and he protects her from the consequences of that when she gets caught. So Walter's biggest antagonist, the guy trying to catch him, who is supposed to uphold the law, is a hypocrite, and he's willing to bend the rules just like Walter White when his family is involved. His would-be benefactors that want to help pay for his treatment, Gretchen and Elliot, allegedly practically pushed him out of his company when he was younger, so he doesn't want to accept their help.
By practically, you mean not really.
And everyone he gets in fights with on the criminal side are, criminals and crazy, and we don't feel bad about what he does to them. And that brings us to Skyler. Because Skyler is the main victim of everything Walter does, if they want us to root for him, she has to seriously suck. And she does. So in this story of murderers, drug dealers, and addicts, how do they get us to hate her enough to not dislike Walter for lying and manipulating her for the whole show? Why are we on his side when she's right about almost every argument they have? It's simple, really. They made her something everyone in the world hates even more than a criminal. They made her a Karen. She's unpleasant, overbearing, and hypocritical, and she talks to everyone with this sense of moral superiority, and this has to be the case, because she's right on paper about every argument they have, almost. And this is 100% intentional. I mean, you don't write a scene of a pregnant woman smoking a cigarette expecting to make us like her because of it. You do it so that we don't like her. And that's really why she is different from Lori, because Lori is wrong about every argument, and she's annoying. Skyler White is right about everything, but she's so annoying that we don't care. She is 100% right to want to keep her and her kids away from drug dealing. She's right to want a divorce from Walter White. And because Walter is essentially blackmailing her into staying married, and she has said the relationship's over, I don't even think it's cheating when she sleeps with Ted. So the first time you watch the show, how do they keep you on Walter's side during this situation? They do it by making the reason she's leaving Walter kind of not real, because she's willing to help Ted break the law and steal money, but not Walt. She's being incredibly hypocritical because she only has a problem being with someone breaking the law if that person is Walter, and she acts like she's above using drug money, but has no problem taking that money to help cover for this other guy. So we see Walter busting his ass to get money while he has cancer, begging his wife to use it. She says no way, and then she gives it all to Ted. That pisses me off. And the thing is, we'll watch Walter White be a bad person all day long because Walter White is a bad person in a really interesting and entertaining way. Seeing him crash out is always either funny or some ridiculous thing where it's symbolic and has a deeper meaning, but Skyler White is annoying in a way that's not very entertaining. Every time Skyler and Marie are arguing, it just feels like, why is this in the show right now? I don't think Skyler really gets interesting until the last season when she becomes complicit in the crimes, and she starts helping Walt make the blackmail video, launder money, and all that. And I think that's a very interesting exploration of her character, and really lets you think about how much this is like a Stockholm Syndrome thing, because she's basically a captive in her own house, and how much does she also enjoy it the way that Walt does. I really like Hank by the end of the show, but I still don't like Skyler. And that's because we learn why Hank acts the way he does. It's mostly a facade and a mask to hide his insecurities because he doesn't want to open up about his feelings. And I think it actually ends up making both him and Marie more endearing when it shows that he stuck by her during her shoplifting problems, and then once he starts mistreating her after he's been injured, she sticks by him and doesn't complain about it either. But the difference is with Skyler is that the reason we don't like her is just that her personality is bad, and she doesn't get any development in terms of her personality over the course of the show. There's no deeper underlying reason why she is the way she is, so even though by the end of the show I do feel really bad for her just because how horrible her life became, that's mostly due to Anna Gunn just being a phenomenal actress, and the fact that I would feel bad if anybody was in that situation. And I think the biggest reason why I never formed that connection with the character is because Skyler and Walt are not characters that love each other. Or I should rephrase, they are not in love with each other. I can't think of even one scene in the show where they have a real romantic chemistry together. And the only time Walt has sex with her is when he has done something that makes him feel empowered. He's literally arousing himself, and she's just the way he expresses that. And don't get me wrong, I am not criticizing the writing of Breaking Bad. I wouldn't dare. But compare Walter and Skyler to Jimmy and Kim from Better Call Saul. Jimmy and Kim genuinely love each other. You see it every episode. They're constantly calling each other, goofing around. If they have a long day, they're eating ice cream at the end of the episode and talking about it. They do selfless things for each other, and they get offended on each other's behalf. And most importantly, they genuinely understand each other. And that's a big reason that Kim looks past Jimmy's bad behavior for so long, because she has seen what he's been through and knows that's why he's turning into the person he's becoming. And all this is shown without these performative declarations of love or big gestures that Walt is always doing to try to appease Skyler. And the consequence of this is that when Saul humiliates her by going through one of his schemes at her expense when she told him not to, I felt like I got stabbed in the back. Breaking Bad wants to achieve the opposite effect of this. They want you indifferent when it's Walt's turn to do it. And you are, because him and his wife are not lovers, they're roommates. Walt and Skyler do not understand each other at all. She doesn't know why he's doing what he's doing, because she doesn't know that he views his whole life as a massive letdown. In his eyes, he settled for a bad job, a small house, and a wife he didn't like that much. He wanted 3 kids, and he had one that was handicapped. His life has not turned out the way he wants. And Walt doesn't understand Skyler, which is why he's so good at manipulating Jesse, but he's the worst liar in the world when it comes to her. But another thing that makes me retroactively like Skyler even less, similar to how Lori now gets compared to Michonne in The Walking Dead. Since Kim is essentially Better Call Saul's Skyler White, they're obviously going to be compared. And that's just not a matchup that looks good for Skyler. She's likable, she's talented, her relationship with all the other characters has so much more nuance and depth to it. Her fall to the dark side and redemption is handled absolutely perfectly, and since, in my opinion, the most interesting Skyler gets in Breaking Bad is during Season 5 with the money laundering, and it's honestly kind of surface level, it really just shows how much of a weaker character she is in general. Now, one thing I love about the entire story of Breaking Bad is that all the criminal characters we follow get what they deserve. Walter deserves to die for the things he did, he does. Jimmy deserves life in prison, I would say, and he gets it. Jesse did horrible things, but he was kind of groomed into it, and I I think he more than got what he deserved when he was imprisoned and they killed his girlfriend, you know? So I love that he escapes to Alaska. The only people that don't get what they deserve are the victims of our main characters, which is basically in Breaking Bad, Walter's whole family. All their lives are ruined, and I don't think Skyler necessarily deserves her fate, which makes the story more powerful overall. But because the show spent so long making you not like Skyler, by the time they start introducing like redeeming qualities that we would appreciate, it's just too little too late. And while there are a lot of things that make me pity her, like the fact that she always winds up looking like the bad guy to the family to cover for whatever Walter's up to, those things don't make me like her more, they just make me feel bad. And they spent so long digging a giant hole for this character within the show that even on a rewatch, this is still one of my favorite scenes.
Will you please, just once, get off my ass? You know, I'd appreciate it. I really would.
But that's going to do it for this one. Like the video if you liked the video, dislike the video if you didn't like the video, and let me know in the comments if you think I was being too harsh or too generous to Skyler. And I'll catch you all in the next episode of HeadCannon.